Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, there is already enormous concern that the government's first home buyer scheme is causing house prices to artificially increase. And just to recap, the government has created what I and many economists see as a subprime mortgage policy ticking time bomb, where first home buyers can buy a home with a 5% deposit and for single parents down to just 2%. The mortgage insurance for that purchase, between 15% and 18%, is on the hook of the taxpayer should the home buyer default. And we don't want anyone to default on their mortgage, but it is a sad reality, and that is why we have mortgage insurance. Mortgage insurance is there ultimately to protect the banks. Now it's the taxpayers that are going to be protecting the banks. For a Sydney buyer, the taxpayer, they can buy a home of up to $1.5 million with a deposit of $30,000, and if you're a single parent. The balance of that mortgage insurance, $270,000, will be covered by the taxpayer. Despite absolutely no caps on the number of first home buyers that could enter this scheme, despite record migration over recent years, for several years now, incredibly high migration, we have created an unbelievable set of demands on housing. And yet, despite this, Treasury estimates that this program will only increase house prices by 0.5%. Now, Domain, real estate gurus, they say that the Sydney median house price grew by 3.5% across the quarter from June to September 2025, with expectations that it will accelerate further in this final quarter of the year. So who in Treasury is accountable for the fact that they come up with these statistics, these calculations of just 0.5%? To me, what I'm seeing, what many economists are seeing, is pouring kerosene on a bin fire. The Australian Financial Review reported unprecedented demand on day one of the first home buyer scheme. And what does an unprecedented demand do with anything? Bananas, coal, whatever you're selling, unprecedented demand increases the price of the good. According to economist Leith Van Olsen from Macro Business, the 5-city aggregate level saw levels rise by 0.9%, so nearly 1% in the last 28 days. Strongest growth since October 2023. Lateral Economics report for the Insurance Council of Australia warns that home guarantee scheme could potentially increase prices between 3.5% and 6.6% in 2026, with increases to continue for several years afterwards. Now, the deep concern that I have is that in segments targeted by first home buyers, which are properties defined as those below the individual house caps in every single state and in different regions, the impact is expected to be even greater, with house prices tipped to increase between 5.3% and 9.9% in 1 year. And this is also causing a distortion in the market. Because this scheme was so rushed and arbitrary decisions were made on what house cap prices are where, if I look at my electorate in the area of Victor Harbour, we're not going to have any first home buyers because the median house price is $740,000. However, they're under the cap of $500,000 for the first home buyer scheme. Mount Compass, just over 50 kilometres from Adelaide CBD, the median house price is $851. It would be under the metro cap if it was applied, but it's not. The country cap's applied. However, also just over 50 k's from Adelaide is Sellex Beach. Now, that does have a median house price that's less than Mount Compass, but they now have the $900,000 house cap. So if you're in Sellex Beach, we're going to see massive increases in house prices. Again, it's distorting the market. If the government wants to fix housing in Australia, it has to look at the demand side and the supply side. What they're doing at the moment is increasing the demand side exponentially. I think we're creating not a dream of home ownership, I think we're creating a nightmare of home ownership for first home buyers. And we need to look at who is buying the homes. We need to make sure that it's an Australia first policy. That's what many nations have. We need to look at reducing migration while at the same time increasing our supply. Thank you.